What viewing order should you watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe in? And where do all those TV shows and short films fit into the picture? With so much content, where do you begin? The answers are assembled right here. This is Streamlining Sci-Fi, Episode 1, The Marvel Cinematic Universe. Launching in 2008, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU, introduced Earth's mightiest heroes to audiences, and quickly expanded to encompass over 20 films, and an ever-growing number of connected television shows and shorter-form content. However, as this tapestry of tales was woven, it was not always done so in chronological order, usually due to the financial and creative realities of film production and release schedules. This video will cover everything released between 2008's Iron Man and 2019's Avengers Endgame, known as the Infinity Saga. With exception to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. being divided up into story arcs in relation to the films, all TV shows are listed as whole seasons and are not broken down by episode. Marvel divides their release schedule into eras of story content called phases, usually defined by the release of an Avengers film. Though this terminology only officially applies to the films, we'll be using the phase descriptions to divide up the listing of all the content into each era. The MCU can be broken down into 5 categories of content. 1. The films that are the backbone and driving force of the entire franchise. 2. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter, the TV shows most heavily connected to the events of the films and the larger universe. 3. The Defenders, also referred to as the Marvel Netflix TV shows, heavily connected to one another, but mostly telling their own story away from the events of the films. 4. The remaining Marvel TV content, which tend to be more standalone series with only minor connections to other shows. 5. Marvel one-shots and viral content. Short films, commercials, and tie-in material to specific films and shows, usually found on Blu-rays as bonus content or on YouTube as promotional videos. There are also multiple comic books and novels in the MCU, but for streamlining purposes, this episode has been restricted to audio-visual content only. Now that you're ready to become part of a bigger universe, we begin Phase 1 in the 1940s with Captain America: The First Avenger, a film set during World War II that features a brief frame story set in modern times. It functions as one of the best introductions to the MCU, after all it's right there in the title, first. The next few years after the war feature the events of the Agent Carter series. The 2 seasons of the show partially replace the one-shot of the same name that they were spun off from, found on the Iron Man 3 Blu-ray, which is why the one-shot is the only item in this timeline that has been broken down by time code in order to integrate it in the most logical way possible. Our next jump ahead brings us to Captain Marvel. While actually the second to last film to be released in Phase 3, the film takes place in 1995 and functions as a prequel to multiple MCU events. Skip the after-credits content for notable spoilers and save it for later. Also set in the 1990s is the pop-up music video I Want Your Cray Cray, a viral video tie-in to Jessica Jones Season 2, found on YouTube. Jumping decades again brings us into 2009 and the first film released in the MCU, the original Iron Man. We emerge into the 2010s with several overlapping stories. Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, the one-shot A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer, found on the Captain America: The First Avenger Blu-ray, the first Thor film, and the one-shot The Consultant, found on the Thor Blu-ray. It is also worth noting that The Incredible Hulk is the only MCU film to have neither a mid-credits or after-credits stinger. Instead, it has a pre-credits scene that serves the same function. The frame story for Captain America: The First Avenger occurs next. Consider this simply an optional footnote. Phase 1 comes to a close in 2012 with the Avengers and the one-shot found on its Blu-ray, Item 47. Phase 2 commences with Iron Man 3 and the one-shot Hail to the King, found on the Thor: The Dark World Blu-ray. 2013 advances on with the first 7 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., followed by Thor: The Dark World. Episodes 8 through 16 of S.H.I.E.L.D. carries us over into 2014 to lead directly into the events of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. S.H.I.E.L.D. then picks up in the aftermath of that film with the remainder of its first season, with episodes 17 through 22. Guardians of the Galaxy Ooga Chakas its way in next, followed by the first season of Daredevil. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. rises to the next level with the first 10 episodes of its second season, and we close the year out with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. 2015 begins with a series of 5 short teasers for the first season of Jessica Jones, found on YouTube. The first one is a general promo with no story content. The remaining 4 do tell a brief story and are included here in the order of the timestamps of their events. These lead us into the actual first season of Jessica Jones, the continuation of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s second season with episodes 11 through 19, followed by Avengers Age of Ultron, and the remaining episodes of that S.H.I.E.L.D. season with episodes 20 through 22. Note that Age of Ultron is the only film to have a mid-credits stinger, but no after-credits stinger. The first series of WHIH Newsfront reports and interviews is next, found on the Ant-Man Blu-ray and YouTube. They lead us into the first Ant-Man film, which acts as an epilogue to Phase 2. The era of the largest phase, Phase 3, thematically begins with the overlapping events of Daredevil Season 2, Luke Cage Season 1, and the first 13 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3. These events lead us into the busiest year of the MCU yet, 2016. Both the Chikara Dojo by Colleen Wing commercial and the New York Bulletin Joy and Ward Meacham special report on YouTube are set prior to the first season of Iron Fist, which directly follows. The Defenders crossover miniseries occurs next, while episodes 14 through 19 of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s third season runs concurrent to those events, but are best viewed afterwards. The second series of WHIH Newsfront on YouTube leads into Captain America Civil War. In the aftermath of Civil War, episodes 20 through 22 of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s third season finish out before events move on to Black Panther. We reach the middle of the year and begin the fallout from The Defenders with Jessica Jones Season 2. The Inhumans miniseries follows, while an unaired pilot for a spin-off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. titled Most Wanted would also occur around here if it is ever released. A Spider-Man Homecoming related short film broken down into a series of TV ads promoting the NBA Finals can be found on YouTube, though often incorrectly presented in reverse order. Spider-Man Homecoming itself is set afterwards and is followed by another TV ad called Driving Test. A title card following Homecoming's prologue stating that events are 8 years later has been confirmed to be an error. It's actually only 4. And should be ignored if you're following the progression of years within the universe. Doctor Strange is a film that takes place over a large span of time, with a prologue set in late 2015 and an epilogue set in early 2017. The majority of the film and the general optimal location to view it in takes place here in 2016. The last few months of that year get filled out by the events of Luke Cage Season 2, Iron Fist Season 2, The Punisher Season 1, and the third season of Daredevil. Early 2017 gives us the first season of Cloak and Dagger on Freeform, the Ghost Rider found cell phone footage viral video on YouTube, and the first 8 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4. The frame story events of the Slingshot web series on YouTube occurs next. Even though the main events of that web series take place several months earlier, it's best viewed here to avoid spoiling events in the first story pod of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4. The second story pod for S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, made up of episodes 9 through 15, occurs next. Episodes 16 through 22 form the final story pod of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s 4th season and leads into the first 10 episodes of the show's 5th season. We next arrive at the presumed placement of Jessica Jones Season 3, followed by the second seasons of both The Punisher and Cloak and Dagger. Thor Ragnarok also begins around this time. The year closes out with the first season of The Runaways on Hulu, with the second season picking up immediately afterwards. 2018 presumably opens with the events of the yet-to-be-released New Warriors series, but that placement is only temporary at the moment. Then S.H.I.E.L.D.'s 5th season continues with episodes 11 through 18, while the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp play out. We then head into the beginning of this era's grand finale with Avengers Infinity War. The final episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s 5th season, 19 through 22, occur concurrently to and make minor references to the events of Avengers Infinity War, but should be viewed before. That stinger from Captain Marvel that we put off to the side earlier returns here before our journey then concludes with Avengers Endgame, which closes out the Infinity Saga begun in theaters over a decade prior. The forthcoming Spider-Man Far From Home will function as an epilogue to Phase 3, much like Ant-Man did for Phase 2. What's that? You don't have time to watch hundreds of episodes of television and almost 24 films? Let's hit the essentials. It's time to streamline. While all of the films form the backbone of the MCU, some are more essential than others. We can filter out a few entries to focus on the more core installments. Some characters and subplots will lack proper introductions with this method, but this will allow you to follow the broader strokes of events transpiring within the saga. The MCU's TV content is almost entirely composed of modern shows with serialized structures and long-term story arcs. This quality makes it difficult to narrow down essential episodes within a particular series. However, most of the TV content does not interact directly with the events of the films, which allows us to narrow down the selection as far as series as a whole go. For Phase 1, we can narrow events down to Captain America: The First Avenger, Agent Carter Season 1, Iron Man, and The Avengers. For Phase 2, we can begin with the first 2 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, followed by episodes 10 through 16, and Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Then episodes 17 through 22, Guardians of the Galaxy, and episodes 1 through 19 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2. Next is Avengers: Age of Ultron, and finally, episodes 20 through 22. With Ant-Man closing that phase out. For Phase 3, we can narrow things down to the first 19 episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, Captain America: Civil War, and episodes 20 through 22 of that S.H.I.E.L.D. season. We continue on with Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Thor: Ragnarok, Avengers: Infinity War, the Captain Marvel mid-credits stinger, and finally, Avengers Endgame. These orders should provide a solid foundation to experience the rest of the MCU from. Don't be hesitant to explore the other content. Just because something doesn't intersect directly with the major events of the films, doesn't mean it isn't immensely entertaining. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s 4th season, for example, is often cited as being the best season of the series, despite having no direct connections to film events. If you want to narrow your experience to just the films, this ends up being the final order of the movies without any of the TV or additional content factored in. The chronological viewing order of all the Defenders content is as follows. As mentioned earlier, the Marvel shows that originated on Netflix, featuring the Defenders, are heavily connected to one another, but mostly tell their own street-level story away from the larger events of the Marvel Universe transpiring in the films. This allows them to be viewed as a standalone experience as a whole, while also permitting the viewer to follow specific individual character tracks. Finally, if you want to follow only specific major characters and do not want to view the entire Defenders series, you can pursue these viewing tracks. They can help guide you through each sub-series, but do not include guest appearances in companion shows where they only appear for an episode or two. And there you have it, true believers, the entire MCU. No matter how you choose to explore the universe, I hope this helps streamline and optimize your experience or that of others. If you've enjoyed this episode or found it useful, you can hit like or subscribe below, and if you'd like to help support more content like this series on this channel, feel free to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/denimintent. Until it's the next time to Streamline, thank you for watching.